Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Nice, bright January day here. How are you all? Oh, I've got this in a weird place. Let me drag that down there. Hoo-hoo, weirdness. Happy Monday, everybody. Great to see you. Good morning, Anita. Good morning from London, Ontario, in Canada. How are you? I hope it was a great weekend. Good morning, Mom and Granby. I was going to call you a few minutes ago. I got late. I'll have to chat later because I'm dying to see you and hear your news. Good morning, Martha. Good to see you. You have light snow in Peterborough. What's it doing in London? Good question, right, Anita? Crystal, good to see you. How are you? Oh, checking in on the weather. It's so funny. You took the kiddos to school on a sled. Oh, that is super Canadian, isn't it? That is so funny. I remember when I lived in the Netherlands, I had the two kids over there, and one of the classic Dutch things that I never got to because I had to bail out and get back, to the U.S. into my roots. I just couldn't take it anymore. But one of the really charming things about the culture was that because there are so many canals, a lot of people ended up like ice skating to school. So if I had been able to stick it out a little bit longer with the changes and the cultural differences and the homesick everything, I might have been there long enough for my kids to be skating to school on canals, which is so strange. I'm always worried about them skating and being on ice anyway. I'm always afraid of like Little Women type scenarios happening there. Sheila, good morning in Benton City. A little bit of light snow. Mom, I feel like we're lucky today in Connecticut. It's a beautiful sort of classic winter, blinding, sunny, bright day. I love these kinds of winter days. They are the most cheerful kind. Joelle, good to see you. Good to see you. It's cold in Calgary. Oh my word, it's super cold. Yeah, the wind is what gets you, isn't it? Good morning, Catherine. How are you? Good to see you. Donna, good to see you in Alberta. Teresa, good to see you too. It's a cold gray day in Southwest Ohio. Oh no. Oh boy, how funny. Penny, good to see you in North Carolina. How are you? Happy Monday, everybody. Linda H. in Massachusetts. Happy Monday. Good to see you. Julie, good to see you in Minnesota. It's snowy up there, huh? Snowy over there. Linda B., how are you? Happy Monday. Chilly here. Yeah, here comes the snow. That's right. We are getting snow tomorrow, Mom, right? You said tomorrow into Wednesday. Good morning in Toronto. I found a hidden stash of wool noodles. Happy days. That does make a happy day, doesn't it? It's like a serious windfall when you find a stash of noodles you forgot about. That's great. Chrissy, good morning. Oh, I'm happy you're here for coffee time. Good to see you. Beverly, good to see you on the Washington out on the West Coast. It's wet out there. Good to see you. Carol, good to see you in Wisconsin. Everybody's on this morning. That's great. Robin from also from Wisconsin. How funny. I wonder if you two are near each other. Well, it's good to see everybody. Happy Monday. I hope it was a great weekend. It went by so fast, I feel. It was ever since bingo, which was a bit of a blackout because it was so stressful. I'm gonna make sure that the next bingo is perfect. I promise you. I hope it was still very fun. And it was a good group of winners with one card. It was a good stash. It went well. It was a bit stressy, but I'm going to have to just prep sooner next time. And we'll think of a theme. Be thinking of a theme already for bingo next month. We have 3 cocktail hours in between on Friday nights, but be thinking of a nice theme that we can do together for the fourth one when we do bingo again. I got a lot of good feedback on the. Oh, Lucy, good morning. Curious Mountain, what a great name. Good morning, and I'm sure very chilly Vermont. Are you sitting like this with your mittens? And I love all the Bernie stuff that's going on right now. I love it. I had to participate a little bit too. Bingo is always fun. Thank you, Sharon. I didn't see you there. Good morning. Good. I had fun and I got a lot of good feedback on the Wheel of Fortune. So that's great. Betty, good to see you. Good morning. Oh my word, it looks like spring in St. Catharines, but snow tomorrow. Isn't that funny? You get the rug pulled out from under you pretty quickly. Oh, great. It is great seeing people's rugs. That's the thing about bingo. I've really loved incorporating, on the episodes where we do things and I make a call out for rugs. I really do love incorporating them. It might be just as well to say that for future bingo nights, just as a matter of course, if you discover a rug or you're working on a rug that I can use for a future game, just go ahead and send it to me anytime, because whether it's sooner or later, I'm going to just start creating a bingo file where I have your rugs. Tell me if you can who the designer is. Tell me your story about it. If you have a story, if not, no problem. But if you have a story about it, I would love to be able to say that too. So just go ahead and send rugs whenever you have them, and just put them in the email ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com as bingo. And I'll just save them in a folder so that when I do think of a great sort of theme or premise for the next one, I'll already have some there. It'll give me less work at the last minute. And then I can do it in a sort of more relaxed fashion. Just turning my heat down here, I'm going to broil. So it was a great weekend here. I was out yesterday with Jay. We were out antiquing, and we were in Rhode Island, which is my favorite. A little town that I haven't been to before called Chapacat. Is that right, Mom? Chapacat? Cute, charming, charming old time village. The old country store, just what you would expect with candy, candles, homemade stuff, cute, really long counter full of bits and bobs and interesting things that one would just want to pick up, impulse buy style, but wooden floors, sagging timbers, lots of interest. And just about every other building on the street, including the post office, was an antique store. So we found some nice stuff, but I found one real gem that I have to share with you, just to catch up on the weekend. I almost didn't buy this because I feel like I have a few rug projects going. And it's so hard to say, and I'm sure for you too, isn't it hard to say when you see a rug? And I know some of you just don't see rugs in your travels around because of location, geography can be tough if you're not near a lot of antique stores. It can be tough. Chapa, Chapachet, Chap, Chip, Chipatchet. Bless you. Yeah, no, it was a beautiful little town. So, I mean, all ancient buildings right over a river. And if it hadn't been windy, even in the 20s, 20 degrees, it was just a gorgeous sunny day. I felt like I was in a movie. I felt like I was going backward in time, and everything just struck me as perfect and idyllic and charming, and it was just gorgeous. Um, but when you do come across a rug, whether it's online or in person, it is so hard to say what draws you to that rug. Sometimes it's the colors. For me, these two behind me, it's the colors, it's the style. Some people like only older rugs. Some people are very sort of highbrow collectors and are only looking for very specific things or a very specific maker or school. Hey, Sharon from Minnesota. Cindy, hello, good morning. Oh, I'm sorry. April, good morning. Good to see you. Um, but it's so hard to say. And with this rug, it was just one of those things that it's not in great shape. And I was saying last night, we ran the beginners class with the stained glass. Nobody's beginners anymore. Everybody is doing incredibly well. But it was a fun class to run for a couple hours. So we were completing that after waiting forever for some of the mail to arrive. And we were talking about rugs, and we did a little bit. There were some questions about finishing rugs and questions about repairing rugs. And then I got another comment this morning from Jennifer that said, "Do you have that book by Judy Taylor about finishing and restoring rugs?" And I do have that book. So I'm going to do a coffee time on that later this week, just to give you an idea. When you do see something that you love, how much work is it going to be to repair it if you are really in love? Is it going to be worth it? Are you looking at a situation where you're doing a do-over and you're just taking a copy of it and starting from scratch, same colors, same everything? Or is it something, that you really want to honor the loops that are there and the person that made those loops long ago? And what works? What are the hardest kinds of repairs to do that kind of thing? So we'll do that later this week. This rug fell for me into the category of I can deal with this because all of the damage is around the border. When it's a combo of holes in the body of it and the border's not in good shape, it's like a double whammy, and I just don't know that I can take that on at this moment. This being a one trick pony and just having so much damage around the edge, I felt like I'm going to be able to mount this, not with like my carpet strips, not those kinds of reindeer games, like big time proper mounting on a board permanently. I'm going to unroll it really carefully and show it to you because it's made up of, I'm not even sure there's wool in here. There's a lot of silk in here. There's probably some cotton in here. It's hard to say. But let me show you this rug and let's play the game. What do you see? Do you remember this game from being a kid? And this is one of the great things about having kids when you're old like me. My daughter is constantly, Joss is constantly looking out the car window and seeing things in the clouds. And it's never something normal. It's like a camel riding on the back of a baboon playing, the harp or something. It's never something normal. So let's play that game. What do you see in this? And you tell me if you see anything in this beautiful rug. I'm going to show it to you up close. This is the center. Now, granted, this could be a hit or miss. This is an old rug. Let me bring you closer. They went through the process of doing the border with these beautiful maple leaves, right? And there's some real color consistency in the border. And they did really heavy hit or miss striping on the edges. But then in the middle, instead of leaving it like just an open sort of center, an open medallion with open space, they put this image into the middle. Now, what does that say to you? Me too, Sharon. It said angel to me too, and that's why I bought it. For Jay, it looked like a boat. I could see it being possibly the other way around, some kind of a beginning of a basket of flowers or a vase. But for me, it said angel, so I had to buy it. It was dead cheap. It was like $30. Look at the amount of work in this thing. I mean, it's crazy. There's so much material in here. Let me show you the back too. I'm being really careful. It didn't have a lot of color loss, which is another one of the things that made me want to grab it. It was rolled up in a corner, and I'll tell you, the way that this thing was living, it was not going to have a happy future. It was like, take it now, save it and stabilize it, or it's not going to be part of the world anymore. So, I mean, look at the color they used in the background. Who knows what this turquoise multi was? It had to be either a coat or a dress. It's a substantial size. So I'm going to take some squash or squirrel. Those are good ones too. Maybe they are. I felt like someone was speaking to me through the rug in a weird, mystical, magical thinking way. Turtle. It could be. I'll take a good photo of it later, like a professional photo of it this afternoon, and I'll post it and you can look at it some more. I just thought this is just absolutely so beautiful. There was no way I was going to let it sit there in the dust and rot. You do too, Crystal. You found that beautiful rug in Canada this weekend with the houses that had that really remarkable bright, bright cobalt blue. And it reminded me of Grenfell, not in the materials, but in the style and the outlining. But it also reminded me of the artist George Tremblay, who I will do a special show on probably tomorrow. I will work on him. I was going to do Maud Lewis today, but I could not find the book. Is this the story of my life or what? I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Sing it, Bono, sing it. Couldn't find the book. So we're going to get back to that. But I wanted to show you that. I found something that I really love for today. You are just going to flip your flipper. A woman reaching out to the face on the upright. Ooh, interesting, Martha. Interesting. I'm going to post it and see what you think in the Facebook group. Do you know our Facebook group hit 3,000 this morning? I can't believe it because right around Christmas we were at 2,000, and then the magic of the internet that I don't understand, the way people find you and connect, another 1,000 in less than a month is crazy. But I am so proud and happy because I think our group is so kind and so supportive, and we are all people who celebrate each other and push each other forward and hold each other up. And I'm really happy that that is the sort of vibe of the group. I'd love to see more people coming in. You watched Maudie over the weekend, Teresa. I have to watch that movie, right? I've heard a lot about it and I know a little bit about her life, and I've got to see that movie. If you all want to get ready for the Maud Lewis episode, that will happen as soon as I find the book. Maybe you should watch the movie called Maudie. And in the class last night, one of the Canadians, I think Anne, said that it was free on one of your Canadian channels or something. It was a word I hadn't heard before, so I assumed it was the equivalent of Netflix or something like that, but that it was for free on there. Thanks, Cindy. So Maudie, Maudie, a beautiful story. I haven't seen the movie, but I have a couple of books on her. And she was a wonderful artist, primitive artist with a sort of born, I said on bingo night, with a birth defect. She developed like real severe rheumatoid arthritis and became a bit, I don't want to say disfigured, but she had a real sort of physical handicap in what she did, and she still managed to overcome it and paint. When her husband, who was like a fish peddler, she married in her 30s, which was quite late for the time, and they had such a happy life living in complete abject poverty, but such a happy life in his little cottage, making rounds with him every day. And he got her first set of oils, and she became a primitive painter like you can't imagine. And now many of her designs are available as hook rug patterns, and we often see them. Linda had one that she put into the show, so I showed that on bingo night. So more to say about that before I move on to the sub CBS Gem. That was it, and Gem, thank you. So it's free on Gem from what I heard last night during the class, just overhearing. Maudie, go ahead and watch that if you get a chance, and then you'll be that much more sort of pumped up for hopefully in the next couple of days when I find the book and I can run the Maud Lewis class. Oh, was he an abusive? I didn't know he was an abusive husband. I didn't get that from the internet sites. That is a shame. Is that part of the movie, that whole sideline? Oh, no, it's not quaint at all. It's so sad. Oh, no. He was abusive. We should note. All right. I'm going to watch the movie maybe before we do the show because I don't want to glamorize something that seemed nice on the internet but was is probably very well covered in the movie. I accidentally bought a play about her life too. It's like Shadows and Light or something like that. Shadows and something. But I haven't read that yet, and that probably is pretty intense too, if that whole dynamic was part of her daily life, part of the movie interpretation. Okay, interesting. But she's so admirable. I mean, her work is amazing. I compared her during bingo to Grandma Moses because it is that sort of older person approaching a new art as a person with no experience doing art. She had made, I think, Christmas cards and stuff as a younger girl, but approaching it at a not a hugely advanced age. Like Grandma Moses in her 70s, but I mean, it's still something of a feat to become as accomplished and to improve upon yourself as quickly as she did and to leave behind such a huge body of work that is so happy and colorful. So it's definitely something that has transferred into rug hooking because of its adaptability and the appropriateness of her type of design for us as rug hookers. So that it's going to be a fun episode, but it might be a more sad episode than I thought. My books are of like pictures of her stuff, so I'm going to have to research more her actual life. And he mellowed in later years. All right. So that's a to be continued. I also want to say before I forget, um, Colleen, I think you wrote this morning and said Happy Burns Day, Happy Robert Burns Day. So for all of those of you who are Scottish or celebrate Robert Burns Day, it is like a holiday in Scotland. I remember it from when I used to live in England that some people celebrated in a huge way Robert Burns Day. He was a famous poet, of course, who wrote a lot of famous poems. I think Auld Lang Syne is probably the most famous one, but To a Mouse is a really cute one, and Tam O'Shanter, and he wrote a poem called Halloween that was a nice seasonal poem. A lot of them written in heavy dialect. But on this day in Scotland, people will be celebrating with lots of whiskey and haggis. And I hope that this year, being a different year, that people are still celebrating and enjoying because it is a proper holiday and it's a great reason to celebrate. So happy Robert Burns Day to anybody who's celebrating that today. It's a nice thing to think about if you are celebrating. So this morning, I'm going to start covering a new book that I am going to recommend. I am going to put it at my number one tippity toppermost poppermost of my book list because I love this book more than any book I've ever seen before. The book is called, April sent this to me. April, thank you so much. I was aware of it, but it was a lot of money online and I hadn't gotten it. And April sent it to me. If Wool Could Talk, and this is by June Myles, M-Y, Myles, L-E-S. This is my favorite book. This is my favorite book. So the first thing I want to tell you, we're going to do this not just today, but we're certainly going to look at this book again tomorrow. This book is like a memoir done in hooked rugs. She is unbelievable. She is unbelievable. The storytelling in this book, you know how sometimes you get people who write books and hook rugs based on patterns they like or trends that are happening. And then you get other people who hook rugs to reflect things that happen in their life that are important to them, that are landmarks to them. That's this category. This is a book about storytelling. It is her life, a memoir in rugs. It is so gorgeous. So this is June, speaking of gorgeous, right? And the funny thing is, when I got this book, I wrote to April because I said, you know what? I have met June and I didn't realize that this was her book. I met her last year right before the world went crazy in Reading, Connecticut, at the library, there was a gathering of rug hookers, and it was the first time that I'd met with that group. And I went and joined in, and I met June. She was the organizer, and I was so struck by her because she's gorgeous, and it reminded me of years ago. I love Billy Joel. I don't usually like popular music, but I really, really love Billy Joel. And I always have. And I remember reading about his life at one point, and somebody saying that when he was married to Christy Brinkley, the beautiful model, people used to say that it almost hurt to look at her because she was so beautiful and her eyes were like blue crystal. I mean, it almost hurt. And that was the feeling that I had when I saw June. I looked at her and I thought, my God, she is just like so striking. And she had done this, and so elegant too, so elegant. She had done a few rugs that were hanging up in the exhibit because it was also an exhibit of men. And, it just immediately stopped me in my tracks because I thought, rarely do you see hooked rugs of men. Plenty of women, right? But you rarely see them of men. And they were so different. And I talked to her for as long as I could without being strange and creepy. Um, and then, the world went crazy. And I hoped that I would see her again when there was another hook in, whenever that might be. And then April sent me this book, and I realized it was June's book. And I just couldn't believe it. Now, I want to preface by saying that this book is one of these books that you will find online, and it will be a lot of money. So, what I did was when I realized that I knew June, I wrote to her on email because I had taken her email. And she still lives in Connecticut. So I wrote to her and I said, I'm going to be talking about your book on the show this morning. She's not big on social media and all that. But I said, I'm going to be doing, talking about your book on the show. And I'm wondering if you have any more copies of your book. Because often when I talk about a book as good as this, and I don't think there's been a book as good as this, people want to buy it. And I don't want to steer you toward places where people are ripping you off to buy it. June still has copies of her book. I don't know how many, but the book originally cost $30 and it's still $30. It's a hardcover. It is filled, filled, filled. So just know for tomorrow's episode, the by tomorrow, she wrote me this morning and I was in a hurry and she was in a hurry, but she's going to give me some more info about where, if you end up liking this episode and tomorrow's episode about June Myles, If Wool Could Talk book, that I will give you direct information to contact her directly for the book. Do not go on Amazon and spend $80, $90, $100, $200 on it. She has the books and you can get them directly from her. So this is a book that is a memoir. I'm going to show you some of it now. You're just not going to believe this. She dedicates the book here in the first page. See this beautiful X's and O's rug with violets on the side, a violet and a ladybug. She writes, this book is dedicated to the memory of my parents, whose love provided me with both roots and wings. And this rug is called XOXOXO Kisses and Hugs. And she wrote, this was done in 1991. She wrote, as a child, I spent hours picking bouquets of violets along the banks of the Maury River in Virginia. Always as a spring surprise from my mother, violets became a shortcut for I love you. The little hugs and kisses rug, which was only her second, was a Mother's Day gift. So this is the second thing that she hooked, and she immediately hooked it as a gift. That says a lot about her, doesn't it? Today, I don't have to go far to pick a bunch of violets, as my front lawn is an ever-expanding bed of the sweet wildflower each spring. So this is not, I haven't even opened the book yet. This is the introduction page, this beautiful X's and O's. Let's look at, it's full of beautiful vignettes like this, the book. She's got the fresh bulbs box, and she's got talk about finding a stash of noodles, right? She's got all her noodles in there. Let's look at the first rug that she hooked. It's called Up and Atom. And it looks like this. I want to make sure you're in focus, actually. Let me stand up. Now take note of that sort of sun that is an egg sun down the bottom, because and it says Up and Atom on the rug. She says, this was numero uno, my first hooked rug, and the only one for which I have used a purchased pattern. So starting with rug number 2, the violets, the X's and O's, she started doing her own patterns only. However, a pattern is not a paint by number deal. It's just a starting point. 2 rugs using the same pattern rarely look much alike at all. I realized almost immediately that hooking could be a creative medium. Here, like the fried egg and the sunbolt border, In words, they were all my additions. Up and Atom was my childhood wake up call from the start, a bit of an autobiography flashback. So, this is such an interesting point to make because, particularly again, going back to the Edith O'Neill book, the Red Cape book that we looked at last week, to remember there were a few pages that I showed you where two people hooked the same rug and they were nothing alike. And I love that June makes this point. She did one commercial pattern in her life. She added the words Up and Atom. She added the sun with the eggs in it, and she added this bolt border with like little rays. But look at how deco they are. They look like little skyscrapers. In her first pattern, she looked at the pattern, thought to herself, this is not going to be a paint by number deal. I'm going to strike out and put some of my own touches. And then she made this. And it would be, I think, hard to look at the pattern and recognize it as this rug at this point because she'd made so many touches. It's just a push to remind you that when you have a commercial pattern, particularly if you're a beginner, get out your Sharpie marker, get out your black Sharpie, make some touches and flourishes that are just for you, and make that rug yours. You don't have to hook it the way that you got it. You hook it the way that you like it. Everything in this book is about her life, her pets. I want to skip a lot because I want to. I want it to last a couple episodes, and I want you to get the book if you're interested. A few little gray hairs never hurt anyone. I mean, how amazing is that? Such style, such a feel to it. She says, I loved this play on words. It was an early effort, and 16 years later, that sentiment is truer than ever. So when she hooked it, she didn't actually have gray hairs. But as time went on, it turns out she did, and now it's more true. But one of her many beautiful, she's got a whole chapter on her pets. Flat Cat is one of them here. You see, she'll tell a story in the corner about the animal, and then she's got the things that she hooked around it. It's like there's multiple images on each page, and she'll talk about how she goes to the farmer's market and the antique market constantly in her town, and she brings back things like chairs and stools that she then wants to cover with rugs and fill her house with these things, and it's all part of building her memory museum because everything that she makes is a story. Look at this story. This is sad, but I think it has such a sort of bittersweet charm to it. This piece is called Roadkill. This piece here. So now here is the story behind Roadkill. She writes, Roadkill, and the subtitle is Or the Turkey Vulture's Dinner Party. She hooked this in 2003, and she wrote, a victim of a hit-and-run accident, a buck deer made its way into my backyard where the lawn gives way to the woods. I fretted, not knowing how to cope with his soon-to-be smelly corpse, but the snows came, and it was not until the spring thaw that I needed to worry about it. By then, the turkey vultures had arrived in force, and only the antlers, one used in this piece, and the bones were left. So she had this story, about being so disturbed that this animal, cruised over onto her land and dropped dead after being hit by a car, what to do about it. And then the season took care of it. The snow took care of it. And when spring came, all that was left was the memory of this poor little thing and the antler. And so she used the antler as a hanger. I mean, that's good. Isn't that? I mean, it gets you right in the heart and in the throat because it's just such it's such a thoughtful story and it's such a thoughtful handling. I might have to save this one for later because I think I forgot one of my papers that I really wanted to support this one. Yeah, let me save this one for tomorrow. Well, that will be a 2 continued. She does such whimsical stuff like this too, the frog. And, take a look at the way, she's such a proper artist. Look at the way she handles the borders here. Top and bottom, this is some very fine horizontal hooking. We talked last night in the class about directional hooking. You don't often see straight across hooking like this, but it's such a great contrast to her shapes. Look at the graphic handling of the frog and the dress. And then she's got just the top and bottom borders. This piece is called Frog. She did it in 2002. This happy frog, dressed in her finest springtime glad rags, looks forward to frolicking among the lily pads and the dragonflies. Doesn't that sound nice? I think we're all looking forward to the same things as Frog. But I mean, when you think about putting your pieces together, even a commercial pattern, is there room on the top or bottom for you to add something like that? You know, like a border even on one or two sides filled with little motifs. What a great idea. Get out the Sharpie and think about it. I'm going to show you one more and then I'll break and we'll pick up with this tomorrow. It's just too good to rush. She's got two rugs that are bug rugs. This one is called Snug as a Bug in a Rug, which I think is really cute. This is the one that I just couldn't stop looking at when I was looking at it last night. You see all the beetles in this rug. It says "Go forth, diversity," and I'll tell you a bit about this, and then we'll break and pick up with that tomorrow. Go forth and diversify. Diversify. 2005, 44 by 42. As a fiction writer, here's a story in every bit of news. A hooker can imagine a design in 1,000 ways. Beetles are the largest group of insects, representing 1/5 of all living organisms. There's a wonderful story about a British biologist called J.B.S. Haldane. When asked by a clergyman about the nature of God, Haldane reportedly quipped, "He has an inordinate fondness for beetles." These are real life beetles, mostly tropical, showing off their astounding array of color and form. So she was that inspired by the quip and by what she learned about beetles that she did this beautiful rug about how diverse the beetles can and do look. It's so different. Her subjects are so different from one to the next. We haven't even scratched the surface. So we're going to start with this tomorrow, If Wool Could Talk by June Myles. And hang tight until tomorrow because I will give you information on how to contact her directly if you want this book. Don't do it through the crazy sites that they want to charge you 4, 5, 10 times more. You'll be able to get it. I don't know how many copies she's had, so you can always give me the heads up. But I will certainly cover that tomorrow as soon as I'm back with you. In the meantime, have a great day. Happy Robert Burns Day. Have a great day in the snow. I will see you tomorrow for more